The big news tonight is the Dodgers are signing Teoscar Hernández to a 1-year contract, $23.5 million. I should note that also $8.5 million of that salary is going to be deferred and paid from 2030 to 2039. The signing isn't necessarily really much of a surprise. I know, Blake, we've discussed Teoscar Hernández, Tommy Pham, other right-handed hitting outfielders several times on our show throughout the offseason. Andrew Friedman today went on MLB Network and MLB Network Radio, and did an interview, and he basically reiterated what became apparent, and is that the Dodgers were looking for a right-handed hitting outfielder. Blake, I know you just wrote the article for us, but kind of give our audience sort of your immediate reaction to the signing.
Yeah, so to start out, when all the Teoscar news was coming out about the Dodgers being the front runners, I didn't love the idea. He was projected to get a multi-year deal from most teams, and for that standpoint, I don't love his profile of signing him. He strikes out a lot, he chases a lot, he doesn't make a lot of contact. But what he does well is he hits the ball hard, he hits homers, and he hits lefties very well. So for a 1-year deal, I think that's a massive win for the team. He's probably about a slightly below average defender, maybe average at best with some help from the Dodgers positioning group there. But defensively, you're not going to expect a ton from him. It's more about he's going to come in, he's going to rake against lefties, and he's going to start every day versus righties as well. And he's not going to hit incredibly well versus righties, but he's going to hold his own there. And that's something Andrew Friedman talked about was important for them, because they have a very left-handed top of the lineup. So you kind of need someone to break that up there and give them another right-handed power hitter in the middle. So from that perspective, I absolutely love it on a 1-year deal. If they were to go any further, like a 2 or 3 year, even 4-year deal like he was projected, I probably wouldn't have wanted that, and I would have preferred them to go after Tommy Pham or something like that. But for a 1-year deal, I think it's a massive win for the Dodgers.
Yeah, real quick before we continue, I do see here who may or may not be Bob Nightingale. He says the Dodgers are using a firm for all these contracts, but also added, I'm not mad at it. I did see Bob tweeting before we came on the show that, kind of calculating what the Dodgers have spent in free agency, and it's obviously over $1 billion at this point, with the bulk of that going to Ohtani. But as Bob Nightingale noted, or maybe Bobby Nightingale, we should call him, the Ohtani contract is certainly deferred, a ton of salary there. They obviously worked out the same thing with Teoscar Hernández. Now, given kind of the at least reported interest in Teoscar Hernández, are you surprised that he's ending up with just a 1-year contract?
Somewhat, although I kind of see it as he was coming off a down year. He wasn't his best playing with the Mariners last year. He was an all-star previously and a Silver Slugger Award winner, and then I think he was below an 800 OPS last year, if I remember correctly. So it kind of gives him the ability to reset his value with the Dodgers. Obviously, he's going to be in a stacked lineup, and he'll probably thrive, probably hit 30-plus homers for the team, and then go back in free agency and get a better deal than he would have got this year. I know a lot of people talked about his home road splits, and I do think there's a lot of randomness to that in general. But at the same time, if he wasn't seeing the ball well at Safeco Field or just something like that, like, it can have an influence. So getting him out of that ballpark might be beneficial for him. So I think he's really just seeing it as a way to reset his value, get back on the open market. He'll still be 32 next offseason, which he can get a 4-year deal or even 3 years, somewhere around there, and get paid pretty well for it.
Yeah, and you just brought up a topic that I was going to touch on, and is Teoscar Hernández's splits for the 2023 season. He hit significantly better on the road compared to at home. I think, did you call it Safeco?
Is it T-Mobile now?
T-Mobile, yeah. No, which is fine. I mean, hey, we still call Staples Center, right? It's not crypto. I just wasn't sure if I caught that correctly or if I was thinking it. But yes, Seattle, it is a hitter-friendly, whatever name you want to give it. It is, a pitcher-friendly ballpark. I think his splits were pretty drastic. And as much as, for me, I did have some kind of concerns if they were going to end up signing Teoscar Hernández, like you said, to a multi-year deal, especially if it got up to, 3 or 4 years. Because I was also looking at, not only did he sort of struggle this past season in 2023, but 2022 was similarly like kind of some downward trajectory compared to when he was an all-star in 2021. And so for me, I sort of wondered, it wasn't necessarily just a 1-year outlier. Was it, it's 2 seasons where his production hasn't quite been at its peak level. And so if the Dodgers were going to end up committing, 3 or 4 years, that could end up being problematic, coupled with He strikes out a lot, doesn't walk a lot. Kind of, I'll use one of your, like I like to tease you guys, your nerd stats. His chase rate is, I think he's like in the like 9th% or something, right? Like it wasn't great, 13th. It wasn't great. But hey, it's a 1-year contract, like you said. And I think the most important thing is that he brings some, right-handed power to a lineup that was, again, I know I've joked about it one way or another. It doesn't matter. The Dodgers somehow seem to end up with a lineup full of left-handed hitters, and every trade deadline they are seemingly looking for somebody on the other side of the plate. And so, now they've done it. And I don't want to completely derail this discussion, but I will sort of bring this up. Andrew Friedman has notoriously said he doesn't like operating at the trade deadline because prices are high. The cost to acquire players is so much more than what it typically is. I know the Dodgers still need, probably one more starting pitcher, and we'll get into that, with Dylan Cease, Shota Imanaga, and some of the other rumors. But safe to say the Dodgers have done pretty much all of their heavy lifting this offseason in free agency.
Yeah, unless you're counting Josh Hader coming in soon. I'm doubting that, but yeah, I think it's safe to say we could have said they've done their heavy lifting before this signing, and now this is just the cherry on top. They've had an incredible offseason. It's kind of hard to put into words how much they've actually done. Like when we go back and look on this, I think we're all going to be very impressed because teams don't spend often. The Dodgers didn't spend at all last year, and that's something we both talked about and kind of said they should have been spending more. So to come out and kind of prove that they want to win and spend all this money this offseason and put themselves in the best position to win, it's been great for them.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now, I know you touched on it a little bit about Teoscar Hernandez, sort of defensively. What should be maybe expected of him, presumably out in left field, although he has been playing, I think, right field primarily, definitely the last 2 seasons. And I know that, Jason Hayward played some right field when Mookie Betts moved into second base. And I know Mookie's going to be playing second base sort of moving forward. And the assumption was Hayward would be in right field. But if I'm not mistaken, I think the Dodgers, did they give Hayward some time in left field last season? Do you remember?
I think he got a few games there. I don't think it was a ton.
So whether Teoscar Hernandez is in left field or right field, what can sort of be expected of him defensively?
He still has some speed, so he's got range still, and that kind of helps him make up for it. I think he was in the 82nd percentile of sprint speed and 88th percentile of range. Excuse me. He was 57th percentile of range, and he has a strong arm, 88th percentile in arm value. His average throws were 89.1 miles an hour, which ranks in the 78th percentile. So he's got speed and he's got a strong arm. Other than that, he doesn't take great routes, and he's going to need some help with positioning and stuff like that, which the Dodgers do excel at. I mean, we've seen them be fine there with Howie Kendrick playing in left field for the first time in quite a while. So I don't think he's going to be an amazing defender, but he'll be passable enough where you don't have to worry about him and make changes necessarily.
Yeah, and I think, kind of hearing that profile and some of those characteristics, it strikes me more. I am seeing some questions, is he a right fielder or a left fielder? I'd be inclined to believe that the Dodgers may end up playing him in left field more than right field, just because, Hayward did get the bulk of his time out in right field, and I thought he did well. I throughout last year kind of discussed on different episodes that he outperformed my expectations, and I mean all around, even at the plate, but definitely as a defender. And so yeah, that's where things sort of currently stand. Again, if you missed it, the big headline tonight is we were just getting ready to come on. The Dodgers are signing Teoscar Hernandez to a 1-year, $23.5 million contract. That does include $8.5 million of deferred salary that will be paid to him between 2030 and 2039. So that's that.